Hi, I just wanted to expound a little bit on this video. The jockey boxes are for paid club members, the ones that are up to date on the dues. I found that during the video in post-editing, I made several errors. One of them, the biggest one, is that I keep referring to cleaner as sanitizer. A cleaner is made to remove the soil or loosen the soil so it can be removed, and a sanitizer kills the bacteria. You cannot sanitize a dirty or soil that's left behind. Also, I noticed that the hoses, when I hung them up, I normally hang them up with the keg tap end hanging up so that it has a way of draining out. The video is not a professional video. It was just cobbled together in just a couple hours. So just bear with it and enjoy the jockey boxes.
Okay, I'm here to try and talk to you or show you how to maintain or clean the jockey boxes for the club. When you pick the club jockey boxes up from Don, you'll be required to sign a use waiver or use policy statement and provide a deposit for the jockey boxes. These boxes run around $400 a piece, so we cannot afford to be letting them go out and get messed up. When you pick them up, you need to check to make sure they're clean, because you're expected to bring them back clean. The exterior is just make sure it's clean. When you open it up, make sure there's no mold or mildew inside. Make sure it has everything it's supposed to be have. There should be 4 hoses with ball lock connectors to them, a baggie with a brush, a spanner wrench, and 4 washers for the shanks. I lost my track of thought. Okay. If you lose any of these parts, you'll be responsible for replacing them. Make sure, as I said, that there's no mold in them. You should have 4 tap handles. The tap handles may be on the box, they may be in the box. If they're in the box, it's easier to transport without damaging the handles, getting bumped and broken. But on the other hand, they're liable to get damaged inside the box from the chill plate bouncing around and scratching them up. So that's what you want to look for when you pick the box up. Make sure it's clean, you have everything it's supposed to have, and it's complete. So now we'll go into how to prepare the box for use. So, okay, now we're going to talk about getting this thing ready for use. You'll be using a washer between the shank and attaching it to the jockey box in the back. You'll hand tighten these only. Do not over tighten them. If you have to install the tap to the jockey box, you'll use a spanner wrench attach it use a spanner wrench to snug it down. Do not over tighten it. Just needs to be snug. That's about it. And you would continue to do that for the rest of the tap handles and the rest of the hoses. Okay, now I've got my lines attached to all the back of the jockey boxes. All my tap handles are on. You might be tempted to throw ice in the box right away. Do not do that. Before you do, the next step is going to be getting beer into the lines inside the jockey box. You'll hook up one of the lines to your keg, or hook the lines up to the keg and put your CO2 onto the keg and then pressurize it and draw until beer starts coming out of the tap. Make sure, before you hook up to your keg, from personal experience, make sure your taps are closed, that they're all off. Otherwise you just have beer pouring out everywhere. But the purpose for filling up the lines beforehand, if you put ice in this box without anything in the lines, the chill plate will get so cold that when you put the beer in, it will freeze the beer inside the lines and plug them up. And the only thing you can do then is empty all the ice out, wait for everything to thaw to be able to get your beer to flow, and then start again. So beer into the lines before you can start putting ice into it. When you put the ice in, cover the chill plate. You might want to add a little water, just enough to cover the chill plate, and then fill up with the rest with ice, the amount that you're going to need through the day. The water will help create more surface contact for the ice. You don't want so much water that it just dilutes all the cold, but it helps cool it down a bit. When you use the pressure, most kegs the CO2 levels are set at about 12 psi, 11, 12 psi for right carbonation. Because of the length of the lines in here, you're going to have to increase your pressure on your regulator. It could, depending on conditions, you might be any place from 20 to 30 psi, might even be a little more. You just need to control, play with it to get your pressures to where it will flow without too much foaming. Ideally, if you have a manifold with 4 regulators where you can control each tap individually, it'd be much easier to control foaming on each of the beers. But that's not something that everybody has. They usually have one regulator with a splitter. When you get finished for the day, do not leave that 30 pounds on your keg, or you're going to find your beer extremely carbonated. At the end of the day, when you're finished using the Jockybox, make sure that you bleed the pressure off your tanks or off your keg a bit to make sure that you're not sitting at 30 psi, or you won't be happy the next time you serve beer. And that's about all I can think of for the use portion of it. So we'll go into the cleaning next. So. Okay. One other thing that should be mentioned is your kegs should be kept as cold as possible. Take tubs and put them in the kegs in the tubs and fill them up with ice. The higher the temperature change you have between your beer and the cold plate, the more foamy you're going to have. So the colder you can keep your kegs when serving, the better off you'll be. Okay, we're going to talk about cleaning next. You are responsible for providing cleaning and sanitizing chemicals along with the CO2. Of the cleaners, I have 4 different types of cleaners here. There are several different products. This is BLC, or beer line cleaner. This is a alkali cleaner, brewery cleaner. This is an oxidated brewery cleaner, and OxiClean is also an oxidated cleaner. Any of these products will work fine. Today we're going to be using the BLC, the beer line cleaner. For sanitizing, there's Star San and Iodorfer. Star San is really good for stainless steel. Iodorfer is a good general purpose. On these boxes, do not use bleach. The lines inside these chill plates are stainless steel, and bleach will damage them. So bleach is not a sanitizer you want to use here. Use one of those two, or another sanitizer from another company. But like I said, we're going to be using the BLC for today, so we're going to mix it up according to the instructions. This will work with either warm or cold water. So just use a little warm water and rinse with cold water. Try to avoid extreme temperature changes with any of your chemicals. I've been told by the chemical experts that if you use hot water to wash something and then cold water to rinse it, that it can actually precipitate some of the chemicals and leave residues behind. So keep your temperatures fairly consistent when you're doing your cleaning. Okay, for the cleaning, use an empty keg. Find the best way is using an empty keg. You've got your solution of cleaner already mixed up. Mix about a gallon, at least a gallon. 2 gallons would be good. And end up filling up your, or not filling a keg, but You can just put in your keg. Now when you, as soon as you get finished using the Jockybox, as close as you can as being finished with it, you need to flush the beer out of the lines. Do not let the beer sit in the lines. It will cause beer stone. So flush that. So it should be water inside the lines at this time. Okay. Okay, you'll pressurize your keg. Make sure your taps are all off. Take an empty bucket or container of some type and flush the water out until you have the BLC or your cleaner in the tap. You'll switch over to another line. If you've used more than one line, you continue to do this. And fill all of these lines up with BLC. It might be advisable to clean these when you get them. After you pick them up, go ahead and do a quick cleaning on them before you use them. The point being that you're relying on somebody else to clean these before you use it. If you want to risk your beer, that's your prerogative, I guess. But keep in mind that it is your beer, and a quick cleaning doesn't hurt it a bit. Okay, so the lines are all filled with sanitizer. We've let this sit for 15 minutes, and it's now time to exchange the sanitizer in the lines. So what you're going to do is flush the old sanitizer out until you got new sanitizer coming into each lines. And we're going to do the same thing we did when we first filled it up. You're filling each one up, and then you'll let this sit for another 15 minutes with the new sanitizer in. If you have the means to hook up a pump and do a continuous flush, that's ideal. But most people aren't going to have that option. So this is the next best thing to do. Okay, now we've been letting this sit for another 15 minutes. So now we're going to clean the sanitizer out of the line. So you empty your keg of sanitizer and just let it blow out of until all most of the sanitizer is out of the line. Okay, now that we've got the cleaner blown out of the lines, we need to flush the lines with water. So rinse your keg out and fill it up with water. Since I'm doing 8 taps here, that you're going to want to use about 1 gallon of water per tap. So I'm going to have to fill this keg back up to be able to finish it off. But you'll flush the lines just like you did with the cleaner, flushing about 1 gallon at a time, and rinse these lines really good. So just end up rinsing 1 gallon down through each of the lines. Okay, now we've got the lines flushed with water. We're going to sanitize the lines. Some people say you don't need to do this. I do it because it can't hurt anything. I mixed up some Star Sand because Star Sand is better for stainless steel. So you're going to do just the same thing that you would do with your cleaner and the flushing. Just hook it up and run it through until you know you have Star Sand coming out. Shut it off. Switch over to your next line. You're going to let the Star Sand sit for about 15 minutes. Okay, now that the Star Sand's been sitting in here for 15 minutes, we need to clean the Star Sand or clean the sanitizer out of the line. So you're going to have an empty keg, and you just blow it, let it blow until it dries out. You want most of to where there's just very little drips coming out of it. It's hard to get it completely dry, but you don't want to leave water or sanitizer sitting in the lines. It will grow funky stuff in the lines. Now that we've got all the lines drained or cleaned out, we can go and take our lines off the back of the keg or the jockey box. Do not lose the washers. They foul out real easy, and it'd be real easy to lose them. When you get all the lines taken off, you want to hang them up someplace so that they can dry. I usually just kind of drape them over my cabinet, but the idea is to let the lines go ahead and bleed off and dry. Okay, the next step is to make sure the taps are clean after use. Use a spanner wrench, take the tap off. Okay. Okay, before you turn it, you also need to make sure that the jockey box, the exterior and interior are clean. If you take these the hoses off and put them inside the jockey box before you flush it, you'll have beer residue inside. That will grow stuff. So make sure you wash the box really well. I use a little scrub brush to make sure I get all the little pores off of it, all the beer residue. And the inside, the same thing. The box needs to be dried. You need to leave it open for a couple days to dry out really good. If there's any moisture left inside the box, it will grow mold. Make sure you pick up the stir plate, or the chill plate, and that it's dry underneath the chill plate. I will quite often take something and prop the chill plate up so that air can circulate underneath the plate. They are fairly heavy, so watch your fingers when you're working around them. Okay, now we're going to disassemble the tap handles themselves and make sure that they're clean. Even though we've done all the flushing, the beer doesn't get rinsed out from around the barrels and the seals. So you want to disassemble the tap handles into this configuration. You'll clean them. I use a little brush. Use a brush to clean everything off, and then put them into a sanitizer. Make sure that you clean the barrels of the brush or of the tap, and then also inside the tap there are two bleed holes. One of them is right here that goes up inside the barrel, and one is coming in at an angle this way. If you're looking inside here, you'll see both those bleed holes. Make sure that they're clear and clean, and that they aren't plugged up. And once you got them clean, then you put them in a sanitizer for a little while, and then you can reassemble them and either let them dry, reassemble them, and either mount them back to the jockey box or put them inside the jockey box. If you put them inside the jockey box, use some kind of a procedure or some kind of a protectant so that they won't get damaged. Okay, now that the jockey boxes are all clean, reassembled, or set up to go back to the brew shop, you have 10 days after you finish using them to get them cleaned up and get them back into the shop. Make sure you have all your parts, the spanner wrench, 4 washers, and the brush. All 4 lines are in here, and turn it into the brew shop. Have Dawn check it out, make sure that it's clean, and If you've got any broken or missing parts, pay for them. Pick up your deposit or whatever's left of it, and that's it. Enjoy.